Welcome to Healthy Scratch. I'm Danielle Michaud, back for another week and happy to have any excuse to continue pumping Mark Borjevsky's tires for his crime-fighting ways. If you need a quick refresher, I'll let him fill you in.
Saw this suspicious guy just kind of like shuffling down the sidewalk. I yelled at him from across the street and I was like, put the bag down, bro. I just like kind of hooked my left arm and sort of like under his arm and like pulled him off the bike to the ground.
So now that Borough Cop's officially on duty, I figured I'd brief him on a few upcoming assignments. It's not going to be easy to figure out who the perpetrator is between Max Domi and Brendan Lemieux, but this particular case will require a deep dive into old files, with both coming from violent lineage. Expect both to be less than cooperative. Numerous Carolina Hurricanes, codename Bunch of Jerks, were found carrying weapons for a dangerous purpose, using them for what appeared to be some sort of human sacrifice ritual. Further investigation is needed. The Milwaukee Admirals are suspected of murdering one of the most iconic Christmas movies of all time, and as you'll see, it should be an open and shut case.
It's from my company. Your bonus? My bonus. Oh, nice. Open it.
And finally, the crime scene has already been mapped out following a grisly situation at Raleigh Center Ice, where the body of Peter Mrazek once lay. Upon gathering footage from various outlets, it appears that Jumbo Joe Thornton is the suspect at large. Approach with caution. Michplays coming at you. Alex Ovechkin, apparently a part-time welder, blowtorching his helmet on the bench. Didn't even know that was a thing, but you got to keep that helmet ready for moments like this when your own teammate hits you in the noggin. Duncan Keith, suffering a similar fate, takes it right off the bean and laughs it off because I guess this is the only time that is considered maybe funny. This was definitely not funny. Louis Domingue with the blocker save and in. If you just let it go, Louis, it was probably wide. Goalies love Michplays. On here all the time. Now this, highly controversial. Jason Spezza doing a little pirouette at the blue line, ends up giving up a shorty, getting in Morgan Riley's way. But you know what? I'm going to let Spezza go. He's taken enough heat lately. This should have been a very easy goal for Ryan Hartman, except instead of tucking it in, he took it off the goal line. Now this, Jacob Slavin with the goal or not. We have a breach on the side of the net. Now the referee with some part-time shop class work will stitch that right up. I'm joined by Ron MacLean, and really the only thing, Ron, that could make this better is if I had like a nice warm fireplace behind us, because I'm going to call this Mentoring Moments with MacLean. Are you familiar with Tim Ferriss?
Very, of course.
Okay, so for those of you who aren't, Tim Ferriss, New York Times bestselling author, podcaster, trying to make people's lives better with advice of sorts. So he wrote a book called Tribe of Mentors, where he got short life advice from people who were excellent at whatever it was that they specialized in, based on a series of short questions. So I picked a couple, Ron, that I really liked. And I wanted to get your answers, okay? What purchase of $100 or less has most positively impacted your life in the last 6 months or in recent memory? It can literally be anything.
So my favorite small purchase is from when I was first married. So you just got married, and we had no money. You know how that sort of, you start to furnish and do all these different things. And we bought, I had, Carrie and I each had $150 to spend on Christmas, but you couldn't even buy fancy jeans for $150. So we bought guns. I bought, well, Carrie didn't buy guns. I did. They're stuffed animals. And I bought 2, and those are my favorite small-time purchase of all time. In the last years, I should be able to pin this down. It's probably, it would be Tom Petty's American Treasure, the CD compilation, CBD. Busted.
Got him. I knew it was that. Now we know.
Oh, you wrecked me. Anyway, Tom Petty, he, God love him, you know. We're not going to start talking about musical artists or I'll break down on you again, but that's my favorite.
I would agree. Music is always a good purchase that never costs too much and gives so much back, right? Yeah. What is an unusual habit, Ron, or absurd thing you love?
I don't know why this springs to mind, Danielle, but when I was young, I used to take a tennis ball and throw it to the ground. And when I walked, I had a lot of those, you know, trying to, I guess, prove I had. But I still to this day like to throw a ball, throw it to the ground and catch it. I used to kick field goals. I actually became a high school football player that kicked field goals for his team, and you got to be certifiably, I think there's two sports that you got to watch yourself. One is field goal kicking, because you kick the ball, it goes 65, 70 yards, you got to go get it. And swimming. They call it black line fever, when a swimmer goes the lengths and they have to look at that black line at the base of the pool for hours on end. Oh. It's a great discipline. And I think it was closer to, all these things are closer to meditation than we realized, yes. Right? I think most sport is, besides the greatest value of sport, which is that we cheer for one another and we have an invested interest, the crowd becomes part of the energy of the team, and all those good wishes, I always say, supersede what goes on in hospitals or schools or churches. It's why we love sports, is that energy that we saw with the Raptors and Bianca Andreescu. But as individuals, when you do a sport by yourself, whether it's weightlifting or cycling, it's stress busting, it's meditation.
How has a failure or apparent failure set you up for later success?
Well, field goal kicking. I missed a game-winning championship field goal in grade 12. And so the ultimate lesson for all anybody that's in any career, that was a failure, you're not. And I remember being embraced by my teammates after it was a 34-yarder, left hash marks, easy, chip shot for me. And what I should have done, Danielle, in those years, it was a single point for, if it went through the end zone, all I had to do was kick the ball 65 yards and we win. It was a tie game when I kicked. And I kicked it, I was a little worried because we'd had one previously blocked. So I made sure I got elevation. As I say, it was a chip shot, 34 yards. And it went over the right upright, and to my eye, from where we were, we thought it was good, but it was ruled wide left. Oh. And the guy ran at 100, the end zones in those years were 25 yards deep, they're now 20. But he ran at 121 yards for the touchdown and beat us on the final play of the game. But it taught me my friends didn't disown me. It taught me the feeling I had, Danielle, was that I kicked it exactly how I wanted to kick it. I kicked it pure based on all the practicing I had done. And the outcome, I would love to have won. And I felt bad for my team that I let them down. But I honestly I couldn't believe it came down to that play. I could not believe that all those years of practicing, I actually got to try to kick a game-winning field goal for a championship.
Pressure.
It was pressure. Oh. Yeah, I didn't feel a whole lot of pressure, but I screwed it up, so I must have subconsciously felt pressure.
Pressure is privilege, as Billie Jean King says. It's in my head now.
Yeah, that's right.
Thanks, Ron.
Pleasure, Danielle.
I gotta give every single stick tap and then some to Kenton Felmley, the bone marrow donor who gave Blues superfan Laila Anderson a new lease on life. They met for the first time at a recent gala and then got to share a moment on the big screen at the Blues game. If this doesn't get you choked up, I don't know what would. Maybe her inspiring opening on Hockey Night in Canada.
When I was in the hospital, the day I was in isolation is when the Blues were out of last place. And it just so happened that we were kind of tied together. I'm Laila Anderson, and this is Hockey Night.
A big, healthy scratch hug to my pal, Ron MacLean, who's always a treat whenever I get a chance to hear from him. Chock full of wisdom, and I appreciate that he #blessed me with some of his best thoughts. Other than that, you know the drill. Like, subscribe, comment, and I hope you're enjoying the holiday season. We'll see you again next week.